Not the start to 2021 we were hoping for. If you're an United fan, obviously, if you're a Wolves fan, it's the perfect start to 2022. United lose at home 1-0 in a lackluster display in which Wolves completely and utterly deserved all 3 points. A Joao Moutinho goal in the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game, a really well taken goal actually, from Joao Moutinho, gave Wolves all 3 points. As I said, completely and utterly deserved from the away side. They were the better team from start to finish. Looked like the team most likely to get all 3 points pretty well throughout the game. And a lot of questions for Ralph Ragnick and his team to answer after that sort of performance. We'll get into your views in just a second, but before we get into anything, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new and do enjoy the content. And also, if you're watching this on the replay, make sure to leave your thoughts on the game in the comment section down below. What was your thoughts on that lackluster display from Manchester United, which leaves us still in 7th place, still 4 points off Arsenal with a game in hand? And a failed opportunity to potentially close the gap on top four and put together a little bit of a run, put together a little bit of momentum. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to do that, and it looks to be a long way back, especially from this sort of performance. It's going to be difficult for us to get back from this and get back to winning ways, because honestly, I don't see too many lights at the end of the tunnel right now. I don't see too many shining lights in that team. I really, really don't. We're going to get depth on the game, a bit more depth on what went wrong for Manchester United, what went well for Wolves, of course, and then obviously your views as well. Keep them coming in the live chat. Jonathan, I'm sure with it being an Arsenal fan, a big missed opportunity for us to close the gap on Arsenal after their 2-1 defeat at home to Manchester. And Kobe, thanks for joining as well. Appreciate it. He's saying it's an awful performance. With you, I don't think many United fans can really complain about that from Kobe. I don't think anyone can really complain. It was an awful performance. And that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, really. Obviously, as I said, I'm not going to, not give any credit to Wolves because, as I said at the start, they completely and utterly deserve to win that game. No question about it. But yeah, from a Manchester United point of view, as I couldn't really shining lights. Phil Jones, his first game back for a year or so, he actually did play well. He was probably the only real light in the game. And when I saw the lineup, I wasn't expecting Phil Jones to be the only shining light in the, but he was, and I thought he had a decent game, all things considered. Yes, obviously his clearance went out to Moutinho, who his header could have been better, but other than that, I thought he was a very, very good defender for us today. I thought he was probably our best defender on the day, actually. So, credit to Phil Jones. Where the rest of the team, I really couldn't pick out anyone who can really hold their potentially David De Gea, although we say this every week, and he deserves the credit as well. But, David De Gea, obviously, but really, I apart from that, I can't really give any other special mentions. I think everyone on that pitch today, barring those two, were a disgrace. Put of a performance, and whether it's just the system not suiting them or Wells, I think there's a little bit of both there. But the biggest thing for me is that the players need to start taking collective responsibility. Under Ole Gunnar, very easy for them to hide their performances, under the guise of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's poor management and lack of tact. And they're able to do that. My camera's just gone off, which is just really sums up the performance. But, they're able to do that quite comfortably, really. They're able just to kind of put all the blame on Ollie, and the fans lapped up very, very nicely. Easy scapegoat to have. But unfortunately, Ollie's not here anymore to take the blame. And, the players are going to have to take responsibility for today's performance, in my opinion. I know Ragnick didn't cover himself in glory with some of the decisions he made, but I think the players have to look at themselves. They have to look at themselves. And unfortunately, the way that player power is these days, we're not going to see that from this team. We're not going to see the players coming out, taking responsibility. because the players are never going to believe that they're the problem. But today, I thought they were the problem. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of hard to argue against that, really. The Football Crew Show, thank you for joining as well, mate. He says, Ralph Ragnick wasn't the man to be. I can't see United finishing top four now. Arsenal got a better chance now. I mean, listen, I know Arsenal have got a better chance. I think it's still early in the season. I think there's still another 18 games to go. So there's still a lot of points up for grabs. I think, if my math is correct, there's still 50 odd points up for grabs. 52 points up for grabs, I think it is. So, still a lot to be won. A lot to be won. So I'm not going to say we're out of the top four race yet. I think there are some people who are jumping the gun on that. A bit of an overreaction, in my opinion. But at the same time, they do probably, the way they're playing right now, have a better chance than us of getting top four. Definitely. But yeah, John Johnson says, I think Man United need to forget about their game in hand. That's something United fans use as a get-out-of-jail card to brush poor performances under the carpet. Well, it is always much better to have points on the board than to have games in hand, in my opinion, because you still have to win the games in hand. And, when you've got the games in hand, you're always playing catch-up, so it's always difficult when you're always having to come from behind. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is with the COVID situation and our games being called off. Games against Brighton and Brentford, the way they're both playing right now, are not going to be walks in the park. They really aren't. So, yeah, that's why these sort of performances do really hurt our chance at top four. But as I said, I think there's still about 18 games left to go. So it's still a long way to go. Ethan, unsurprisingly, says up the walls. Hope you're doing well, Ethan. Oh, for fuck's sake. He also says Aaron Wan-Bissaka has to look at himself and retire. He didn't cover himself in glory. I have to admit that, to be honest. It was a poor performance. I think it was summed up by his kind of miss-hit cross he hit in about the 55th minute, which, I mean, I don't know. I was speechless. I was absolutely speechless after that, to be honest, watching it. But yeah, that kind of summed up his game, really. Defensively, didn't really, show the heights that we've seen when he first signed back in the summer of 2019. And going forward, I'm afraid he's hopeless. I have to say he's hopeless. I mean, again, you could argue this is something that we've already known with Wan-Bissaka. This is not something new. But it does get very, very frustrating. And it's very clear to see that Ragnick's system only really fits the attacking fullbacks. And unfortunately, Wan-Bissaka's not an attacking fullback. He's a good defender, but going forward, he is like a fish riding a bicycle. He is absolutely all over the place. So, as I said, as a defender, I don't mind Wan-Bissaka. I think positionally he's a little bit, he gets caught out of position a little bit, but actually in terms of tackling, he's got to be up there with the best in the world at this point. But going forward, it's just not it. He's just not it. G Red Devil Studio, thank you for joining, mate. Appreciate it. Says let's get Red Devil Week to 1K. Appreciate your support, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hopefully, who knows, in 2022, hopefully we get the channel to 1,000 subscribers finally after such a long wait. But yeah, cheers for support. Make sure you check out Red Devil Studio as well. Good stuff over there. On that channel, I think they might still be doing their match reaction over there. So make sure you do check that out if you've got time. Jonathan says, media villain, Pogba and Martial, real villain, Fernandes and Rashford. I can't believe I just read them out in those names as well. But, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think Pogba and Martial have covered themselves in glory either, to be honest. But, yeah, I mean, obviously right now, Fernandes and Rashford are going through a very poor run of form, especially Rashford. I mean, today when he came on, you were expecting some sort of a response from what we saw against Burnley, but he just came on and he was misplacing simple passes, he was making the wrong decisions, and nothing's changed. And I do worry about Rashford's form because last season I feel like we've seen a completely different Rashford to what we are right now. And I don't know whether it's just the surgery or whether missing that penalty in the Euros has completely screwed him up. But I don't know what's happened. I actually don't know what's happened. Ethan, of course, says Aaron Wan-Bissaka needs some advice from Trent. Listen, I mean, Trent's all right going forward, but defensively, Trent needs some words from Aaron Wan-Bissaka. If they could combine to make the perfect right back, it would be sorted. But unfortunately, they both have glaring weaknesses in their game, and it's going to stay like that, unfortunately. Krishna, thank you for joining, appreciate it. He says, man, I think team needs to be sacked. I mean, obviously, the players again aren't going to take responsibility. I mean, it's about player accountability, and I look at those players on that pitch, and as Roy Keane pointed out many moons ago, they're the same people that threw Jose Mourinho under the bus. They did it to Ollie, and I'm sure they'll happily do it to Ralph Ragnick as well. And I think now the good thing about, well, the only good thing really about these sort of performances is it highlights the fact that it's not just the manager that's the problem. The players are at fault. They are a massive problem at this football club. The only thing they've got in their favour is the fact that you can't just sack 30 players because you need 30 players to replace them with. So they'll be able to keep their place. They're going to pick up their 300,000 a week paycheck or whatever. It doesn't matter. They will keep their place. They're not really under any threat. But obviously the manager is a different story. They're always in the firing line. They're the first ones that, cop stick when it's not going well. So they can kind of hide behind that. But I think recently people have started to realise that the players need to take accountability, and they don't think they have really. Jonathan says Saka is clear of scam show. Not sure, mate. I mean, I think he's probably playing better than him right now, but I'd have Sancho in the team rather than him every day of the week. And I'm not saying Saka's a bad player, but he also says my mates the Glazers will do a U-turn on Ragnick and appoint Southgate as a new manager in the summer. Yeah. Why am I not surprised that the Glazers are your mates, Jonathan? Why am I not surprised? Yeah, he's having a bit of a rough patch at the moment. He's scored 8 goals in the Premier League so far. Obviously, probably a little bit below the tally that he was expecting by this point, especially if you go on his reputation. And yeah, he'll be disappointed. I think he's another one that needs to start looking at his own performances. Obviously, we all know Ronaldo. He is someone who does get very frustrated when things aren't going his way, but he needs to start taking accountability. And as someone who's obviously been touted as a leader, first game as captain for Manchester United since coming back, he's someone who does need to take responsibility for the way not only he's performing, but a little bit of how the team's performing as well. And a lot of people, when we signed him, oh God, a lot of people, the way he kind of pointed at him when we first signed him, saying actually he's not the guy. Recently he's not really been proving them wrong. I think him being in the team has been a little bit to our detriment recently. But I don't think he's the overall problem at the club. But I just feel like, maybe some of these doubts are getting to him, and I feel like he needs to really look in the mirror and look at his own performances recently, because for what he's saying in the media, for what he looks like he's saying on the pitch as well, the whinging and the moaning that he's doing, he needs to pick it up. He really does need to pick it up, because whether you're a captain or not, whether you've scored 803 career goals or not, you've got to pull your weight, and that goes for everyone else in the team as well, not just him. Dazza, thanks for joining, Dazza. Appreciate it. He pretty well sums it up in one sentence. Says, well, that was cack. It was cack, Daz. It was cack. No question about it. But it is what it is. We're currently 7th, 31 points, still 4 points off Arsenal, with one game in hand now, so we can't actually go above Arsenal like we could have done if we won this game. So it's a big missed opportunity, and I think Arsenal will be breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. Obviously, the fact they didn't beat Man City wasn't a surprise, but I think a lot of Arsenal fans probably expected United to be breathing down their necks right now, but there's still that clear water between us two, which is a big result for Arsenal, really big result for them, and also a big result for West Ham as well, who are currently fighting for that 4th spot. Ethan says Ronaldo is such a baby. I can't stand the fella. Yeah, I mean, that's I think that's the one thing which you kind of get with Ronaldo is when you sign Ronaldo, you get all the bravado and all the kind of hands throwing and the whinging, I feel like. And when it's going well, you can kind of put it down to, he's trying to lead the team with his heart on his sleeve and everything like that. But when it's not going well, it doesn't look good whatsoever. it does not look good on the pitch. And we're in this position right now where it doesn't look good on the pitch. And whilst he was digging us out of holes in the Champions League, scoring goals in the last minute against Villarreal, against Atalanta, I think the fans could kind of stomach it a bit easier. But when you start losing and drawing these games where on paper we should be winning, this sort of behaviour doesn't get tolerated anymore, because you can't, just say, well, we won the game, so it doesn't matter. Once the result is out of the question, people start getting annoyed. And I feel like some United fans are starting to get a bit annoyed at Ronaldo. But obviously, again, he needs to pull his finger out. And if we want Champions League football, he's someone who's got to step up. And in recent games, he hasn't really been doing that. Daza says on Ronaldo, he says, Ronaldo, I've said, is not good enough anymore, but some United fans, Ronaldo fanboys, call me delusional. I mean, I don't think he's terrible now. I wouldn't go as far as say he's terrible. I would agree that he's not as good as he used to be. I mean, that's not even a controversial statement, to be fair. But I still think he's a good player. He's a very good goal scorer. He is usually in the right place at the right time. But ultimately, be at the level that we need to challenge for the league title, because when you Cristiano Ronaldo, I feel like that's the expectation. Either a league title or at least a trophy. You're not getting Ronaldo to win nothing. So the fact that we're nowhere near either of those things is a bit, especially after the other business we've done, bringing in Varane and bringing in Sancho as well. Kind of had a bit of the dream transfer window apart from signing a CDM. And we have gone backwards, really. 9 points worth off than we were at this point last season. Stats don't lie. Stats don't lie. Jonathan says, you have to admit that Tomiyasu, Clear, Telles, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka and Dallo. No, I don't. Don't have to admit that at all. You're not getting that out of me. Dallas says, Wolves have their only season against us. No chance they're getting Europe. Too inconsistent. To be fair, looking at the form going into this game, they actually only conceded 2 goals in their last 6. And they had 3 0-0s in their last 6 as well. So defensively, obviously, they've only scored 2 goals in their last 7 games, which is pretty damning, really. But I think they'll probably do agree. I probably don't see them getting Champions League because they're just not consistent enough. But if they bring together and they keep the clean sheet ratio that they've got, they could be up there, because they do defend very well as a unit. And tonight they did defend well. Yes, they didn't have too much to go against because we didn't really provide that much threat, but they did defend very well. They've defended very, very well. And Dazzle said, then again, if we keep playing like that, we won't even get top 10. You're very true, mate. And he also says, in the Champions League, he's good. He actually performs. In the Premier League, he doesn't turn up and is just expecting the ball to feet too much. Yeah, obviously, people talk about the Premier League as the best league in the world and all that, but maybe it's too much for Ronaldo, maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, as I said, it's still very early in the season, still 18 games left to play. So we've got a lot of time. We've got a lot of time left in this season, a lot of games left to be played. So I'm not going to jump to too many conclusions just yet. Obviously, it's a frustrating defeat, and we have been playing poorly for the last few games, really. So in some ways, this defeat or this sort of result was almost coming a little bit. But I do feel like we can rectify this situation. It's not as if there's 5 games left of the season and top 4 is mathematically gone. There's still a lot of time left in the season. We're only 4 points off top 4, so there is a chance we rectify it. But at the same time, especially because we've been playing this system for the last kind of 5-6 games, I was expecting us to get better and better week on week as we got used to the system. We've actually got worse and worse each week, which is mad to think. I thought after that Palace game, I thought we looked really good against Palace, but I thought these players will hopefully grow into this system week on week and, just get more used to it. But it hasn't happened. We've looked shitter and shitter each week. And I don't know how we're going to fix this, to be honest. But as I said, there's still a lot of football to be played. We can still pull it back. We've still got time. Rich has joined. Thank you for joining, Rich. Appreciate it. He says, Phil Jones making me realise a lot of our players are just not good enough. Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I said, the one player that I was giving credit to today is Phil Jones. I mean, the fact that he hasn't played since January 2020, nearly 2 years since the last game he played, and he came in and looked fairly assured. Maybe that was a big play for him to try and get his way back into the team. And you know what? He didn't do himself too much harm tonight because I thought he was actually decent. But when I was previewing this game, the last thing I thought was that Phil Jones was going to be our man of the match, if you like. I mean, I didn't think I was going to say those words again in a Manchester United shirt. Never mind, in football in general. But crazy, crazy. But I mean, I agree, Rich. It just shows how poor we are right now, and I it's difficult. I mean, maybe the players aren't fit for the system. Maybe Ragnick's system isn't working on this team. Maybe there's a few too many egos in the dressing room. I don't know what the problem is, and that's the biggest problem. I think it's all right having problems if you know what they are, but when you don't even know what the problems are, when you don't even know where to start with dealing with the problems, you've got an even bigger problem than you first thought. Um, Dalla says Phil Jones is man of the match. He hasn't played for 2 years. That shows how bad the team was. Yeah, I agree. Similar point to Rich in that regard. Jonathan says that's only according to deluded Man United fans. Jonathan back to doing what he does best, calling United fans deluded. Um, but yeah, and Daz also says Martinelli is good, but Greenwood is superb. One of our only good attackers. I mean, for me, the one thing that one of the things, I can't really say one thing really, it'd be a bit disingenuous to say that Ragnick only got one thing wrong tonight, but the one of the things that I did get pretty annoyed about really was how Ragnick took Greenwood off for Bruno Fernandes when McTominay really did not cover himself in glory tonight. And I feel like 90% of United fans could see that that was the clear substitution to make. Bring on Fernandes in that midfield role, go a bit more attacking, and look to take the game to Wolves. But unfortunately, he brought off Greenwood, who actually didn't have a terrible game. I mean, he didn't set the world alight himself, but he didn't have a terrible game whatsoever. And I feel like we've seen that sort of substitution, not only from Rangnick, but from Ollie as well. And there is a lot of similarities so far between Rangnick and Ollie, and that's not something that we wanted to see. I think when we heard that Rangnick was appointed Manchester United manager, I think a lot of us were hoping that he was going to come in and be a massive change, be a massive shot in the arm, if you like, for this United side. And the first game seemed to have worked out like that, but apart from that, it's been pretty, same old, really, which is a bit concerning. As I said, a bit concerning. Um, I don't know where he's hiding, Charles. I actually don't know where he's hiding at this point. If I knew, I'd tell you. If I knew where he's hiding, I'd definitely tell you, mate. But I literally don't. First time, I don't know where he is. Dad says the partnership with McTominay and Matic was absolutely cack. Yeah, I mean, I thought Matic was average. I thought McTominay was really poor tonight. That midfield too has been an absolute thorn in our side, really. We just got bad combination after bad combination. Donny van der Beek still sits like a dog on the sidelines, looking out at everyone else playing. I don't know what he needs to do to get game time in this football club. I mean, if we're turning out that shite and he's still sitting on the bench, we must be, or he must be terrible in training. That's the only explanation I've got, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see any other explanation as to why he's not playing, because you can't. I can't believe that Rangnick or any of the other coaches would look out onto the pitch, see that midfield performance tonight, which was practically non-existent, and look towards that Donny van der Beek and say, you know what, not tonight. How can you say that? I do not understand that in the slightest, but that's going to be a bugbear that probably will continue on even after Donny van der Beek has left the club, which seems quite inevitable with every passing game that he doesn't get any minutes. Dada says, but slightly better than watching Fred outclassed in midfield by Moutinho and Neves every single time. They have a good midfield partnership. We don't. Oh yeah, good midfield partnership and a good settled midfield partnership as well. Um, yeah, frustrating, I've got to say. But you know what? Obviously, as I said, there's still time to rectify the situation, but it's difficult to see with the same players, with the same system. I don't see where we're going to pick up performances. I don't see where we're going to pull out this miracle win, 4-5-0 win that we're all craving to see. We play Aston Villa next, I think, in the Premier League, who aren't the worst team in the world. In fact, they're not doing terribly this season. Yes, obviously, they sacked Dean Smith, but since Gerrard's come in, he's been a bit of a breath of fresh air for them, and they've done pretty well. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be a difficult one, that one against Villa. Um, but we'll look forward to that, closer to the time. Probably going to wrap up, to be honest. As I said, I haven't got too much to talk about, really. It was a game at which we want to forget, really. But most of the games we play against Wolves are games we want to forget. It's just that we usually kind of nick a winner or nick some sort of goal or hold on to a clean sheet. This time, we didn't get that, and we're left feeling very, very empty indeed and very worried for the future, I'd say. A lot of questions need to be answered by Ragnick and the team. But that's me done, really. Just a short stream to give my thoughts and reaction on the game. Let me know your thoughts if you're watching on a video in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new around here. And thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your bank holiday. And I'm sorry to anyone who's going back to work on Tuesday or tomorrow rather. But anyway, thanks for watching anyway. Appreciate it. See you in the next one. Take care. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in a bit. Cheers.